Ken. Nice to see you. Okay, so can the audience type in the chat, what does it mean to be searchable? In your perspective, what do you understand of being searchable is? Anybody? So we try to have it like a two-way thing. Hi Cheryl. Cheryl is my cousin. Thanks for attending. Being searchable means that it can be. Hang on, so Cheryl says that being searchable, it can be easily found by potential customers. That's right. So easy to discover online, and also found easily, searchable. People find you when they need you, and everyone is able to find you online and offline easily, and found on the home page of the top ranking. Yes. So these are all the topics that we are going to talk about. So without further ado, let me share my slides. Hang on. So right, so today's topic is discovering the searchability factor. So the question we ask ourselves is, what does being searchable mean to you, and why is it important? So we have covered some of the points earlier, but also wanting to address this thing as we aim to dissect this topic is, being searchable is one thing. When people find you, do they find that the message that you are bringing across to them, does it make sense to them? So we will cover, does being searchable only mean being pretty, being handsome, or does it mean that what other aspects of searchability do we need to consider, right? So let's dive in. So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Eugene, the SEO King, and I'm the former digital director of Standard Chartered Bank in Singapore. We do all the retail banking products. I'm also involved in the digitalization efforts of the Catholic Church in Singapore, overseeing training some of the different churches, volunteers, getting them up to speed on website development and also social media marketing as well. And some of my prior experience include customer relationship management, supporting shopper loyalty programs, personal data protection implementation, where we work with the lawyers of Lendlease Group to develop their personal data protection. I'm an avid digital marketing strategist. I've been invited regionally to talk about digital marketing concepts, digital marketing topics. I have spoken in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Singapore. Of course, the pandemic helps us that we do not need to fly. We just deliver it in the comfort of our homes, right? So I also have a small team that we manage 360 degrees digital marketing, which means that, not only using SEO, you use ads to get the result, you use email marketing and all this. I am a mentor for digital marketing diploma students in Lithian Academy, and I'm also a mentor at Republic Poly for their entrepreneurship community and mentorship scheme, whereby they actually encourage students to be entrepreneurs and they get industry experts like myself to guide them, right? So here's a brief background about me and why I'm here, why I'm suitable to teach you how to be searchable, all right? So the importance of being able to be found on search is very real, as what we said. If we are not able to be searched, then we cannot essentially find our potential target customer. But here's the question at the back of the mind that I want you to think. A lot of you think that you know your target customer, but do you really know it, right? So that is also another thing that we want to address in this short, not very short, 2 hours webinar. So why is it important of being found on search? Because search increases visibility, and when you are found on page 1 in Google, people see it indirectly that your company or the service and product that you are providing is of value and you are of credibility because you are able to appear in Google. It enhances the user's trust for your product, for yourself, and for the person that's delivering the product as well, the company as well. It increases your website traffic because, as we know, if you are within the top 3 of any Google search result, you will get the most traffic. Higher website traffic naturally leads to more inquiries. More inquiries naturally leads to more customer. And of course, in all this, you need to pay important considerations to improve customer experience on your website. That is very important. So it doesn't balance if your website appears on the first page of Google and when people load, the website takes forever to load. That's why a good hosting like exabytes is very important in your business decision, right? So next we look at what is searchability. Searchability basically means that is the art of or the state of being searchable. Like this girl, she's searching for something. She's searching for maybe the bee. She's looking at nature. Everybody is searching for something, right? But do you know that there are several ways in which people can search for your business? And what are the several ways? Here are the ways. So people actually search you on YouTube search. They search you on the normal Google search. They search you on social media, Facebook. They search you on Instagram. They search you on LinkedIn and Google search as well. So what does it mean? Like for example, if somebody wants to buy a dress, a formal dress, so when she's going to Facebook, she'll just type formal dress and see what Facebook posts appear. So it is also very important that you pepper your Facebook posts with certain keywords that people can search for, right? So next, let's look at something interesting. So being searchable is one thing, but we also need to consider that there are different stages of sales. And this is also very important as part of the searchability factor. First, people do not know your existence. That's very real. You are nobody. You are established against people that have years in the industry, people who have websites that are 5 years older than you. Your website just launched yesterday. So you are somebody with no existence as a start. Then people start to know you and remember you as you carry on your marketing journey. People start to know you, remember you. Then people start to like you, like the service that you do. And then there's trust. There's some testimonials coming in. People say, oh, this business is trusted, right? Next, you start to get sales. You start to get repeat sales. And next, you start to have a loyal following, and those loyal followers will be willing to shout and be your brand advocate for you automatically without having paid, because they have experienced top service from you. So let's look at basically the customer journey and how does it affect searchability, right? So it's important that we have already identified the different ways in which people search you and what are the different stages of sales. And now we look at customer journey and how does all that map together. So first, we always start with people don't know your existence. That's true. Next, people start noticing you or start to take notice of you as you start to do branding exercise. So an example of branding exercise could be you just record a video, you have it on YouTube, you have it on Facebook, you run some ads to certain target audience, and they start to view the videos and they say, oh, this service or this company exists. So that is the purpose of branding, right? Branding is not really translates to sales. So a lot of people think that, why are you spending so much on branding? But branding helps you build trust, helps you build visibility, and eventually it will translate to your business profitability, right? So branding is important when people start noticing you. Next stage that we know is when people start noticing you, you became visible. So visibility is next. After branding, branding makes you visible, makes your business visible, makes your products or service visible, your company name visible, and your your name as a service provider also visible, right? So next we want to go to when you are visible, you start appearing on search engines for various keywords. You start to have more exposure because you have more traffic to your website, and you have more inquiries. So that is the stage where when you get exposure, you get people remember you, people start talking about you, word of mouth marketing kicks in, on top of all the online marketing that you're doing, and you get more exposure. So more exposure at this stage is very good because the business would have a trickle of inquiries, and the business will have some people that start talking about them. So for example, this series of talks that Exabyte has done, I'm sure there is those people that are always looking forward to all these talks because they can learn from all the fellow speaker expert panel, and they find it very refreshing that Exabytes is doing this. So this is an example where people start to remember, people start to relate that Exabytes have, this kind of talks that actually engage their customers. So it's very important that when you get more exposure, so people start to like you, people start to have this thing what we call a brand recall. Brand recall meaning to say that people automatically map this service to this company or map this service to your name, right? So that is brand recall, and they start to have retention, means they remember that Eugene equals SEO because I have attended his searchability factor class. So that's what it means. So when people start to have brand recall, you start to be branded, you start to be known for the service that you want to provide. So this is important because brand recall will eventually leads to authority. You become a trusted authority in your field. And for example, in my case, I get invited to be speaker and all this because people have seen me talk, and people realize that every talk that I'm invited to, I always give a lot of value. So I become an authority in the space of SEO digital marketing, right? So this is an example. Next, when people start to buy from you, you get more sales, and eventually when you get more sales, you get more repeat sales, and finally that's where people start to shout and basically feel very strongly about your brand, your product, your service. That's where you have advocacy, you have a series of people that is willing to defend your business. People are even willing to reply on your behalf if there is any bad social media comments, or people just trying to be funny to kind of discredit your business. These people that are part of your advocacy group will be able to just stand up and say, no, this is not what I encounter, this is not the service that I encounter, something like that, right? So this is the whole customer journey and searchability, right? So it's very important that we know that in part of this customer journey and searchability, remember that people will search your business in several ways. So for example, people go to Google search and search for, let's say, wedding dress, and then they found out a website. So they go to the website. Then they realize the website has a Facebook icon. They go to the Facebook. When they go to the Facebook, they actually see the different dresses, how it looks like. Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, so when they go to Facebook, they see what are the different dresses, and then whatever that they will be able to then decide whether they want to buy. So the question is how you do also integrated marketing is very important, right? Because people don't just appear on Google itself. So here's the problem, right? A lot of companies, they engage someone to do web design, and then someone to do SEO, and then someone to do Facebook ads. So it's like 3 or 4 companies, and each of them are doing their own thing, and that is where that you will realize that you don't have results, but you don't know which company is not delivering, because you yourself that you are managing, you are the marketing manager, you have very little experience because you are fresh grads. So this is a real life scenario of what businesses are encountering right now, right? Because also partly also they do not know fully, and they do not appreciate the customer journey, which is why I map it and explain this in detail, because it's very important to realize that people don't buy from you immediately. That is the key point, right? Okay, so next. So next, we come to this very important topic, which is the essence of the talk, and this is what we call the Searchability Blueprint. The Searchability Blueprint, we are breaking it up into different parts. We are now covering the market, audience, and competitor to basically understand the whole market. So this is how it goes. We start with market positioning analysis. So in market positioning analysis, we define the market, we identify the niche, and we zoom in to the sub niche. So we'll talk more in detail later. Next, we go to the target audience analysis. So target audience analysis will define your audience persona, your audience, of a certain age. They have certain varied interests, and basically you ask yourself, when you are defining a target audience analysis, whether can you map this target audience to a specific person. So the more that you are able to map to a specific person, like for example your niece, which is age 23, 24 years old, love Korean fashion, love Japanese food and all this, then you have all these other options that you can target when you're doing either Facebook ads or Google ads, right? Next, we come to competitor analysis. And in competitor analysis, a lot of businesses are unaware who are their top 3 competitors or even top 5, right? They are not aware. They think that they want to dominate the market, but how do you dominate the market when you do not know who is your top 3 competitor? Why is it important to know your top 3 competitor? Because by knowing your top 3 competitor, you can then proceed to search your competition and to find out the following. Which platforms are they on? Do they have Instagram? Do they have Facebook? What are the type of content that they roll out on Facebook, Instagram? Do they have offline and online marketing? So an example of offline marketing is if you pass by a cafe, the cafe gives you a brochure, there's a QR code there, you scan, you put in your name, email address, you walk in, you show the email, you get a free cup of coffee, no question asked, but they got you on the mailing list, right? So that is proximity marketing. Are they doing all this proximity marketing, right? How they compare to me? How they compare to my business? What is it that I'm not doing? Why are they doing this so well? So these are all the questions that we will ask once we know who our competitor truly is, right? So next, we move to the business and branding area of the Searchability Blueprint, and we will then look at business and branding because we have already looked at the market, the competition, and the target audience, right? Next is the type of business you do. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to start a bubble tea business. But again, you have to ask yourself, do not start a Me Too business. People start a business, you also start. Me Too, I also want to start. That kind of Me Too business. That's what I mean. Always try to be or try to start the business with a business that is a first mover advantage, that there is very little competition, because in that way you can create your own blue ocean and dominate it before competitors come in, right? So type of business to do is a consideration that you need to do. Next, we look at the business structure analysis. So business structure analysis, we look at the effect of the pandemic. We need to define a business model, and we use the business model canvas to help us. And business model canvas basically defines the partners, the activities, the resources, value propositions that you offer, the channels that you market on, your different customer segments, your customer relationships, your cost structures, and your revenue stream. So that is the business model canvas. You can actually Google on that. So next we go on something like a branding exercise. So in branding, we need to ask ourselves, there are two aspects of branding that we need to do. One is to brand our company, and in the process of branding our company, we actually brand our products and services that come with it. Secondly is personal branding. Personal branding is very, very important, right? A lot of people do not update their LinkedIn profile. I am guilty of that, honestly. In the last 8 years, I have not been updating my LinkedIn profile. Only last year, I started to update my LinkedIn profile properly. I started to get recommendations from people who have attended my event. And I started to build on this, so-called build on the testimonial. So this is a very quick tip for you. If your LinkedIn profile is not updated, hopefully after today, please go and update your LinkedIn, and please ensure that you get some testimonials from your customers or those people that have encountered very positive service offering by you, right? And also in the branding, you can position yourself as a market leader or a key opinion leader, where you'll be invited to events that are related to your field, right? So next, we come to this aspect of the searchability factor, which is the design, copy, and the keywords experience. So basically, we have the effective user experience, talks about the proper use of colors, the proper design consistency, making sure your logos appear across the social medias in a consistent manner. The colors must be consistent. Your website must be mobile optimized. The load speed of your website is very important, and you need a reliable web hosting company to provide you the SSL. And what better way? Just contact Exabytes if you need hosting solution, correct? Next is this thing what we call magnetic persuasion, right? Or in simple terms, is copywriting. How do you get the right message across to the right audience? That is why it's very important for us to define who our target audience is earlier. Because if you sell everything to everyone, you end up selling nothing to anyone, right? So always remember that, right? So that's why effective copywriting is very important, and copywriting considers the demographic of your audience, the age, the gender, and also the age, gender will also determine the colors that you use, right? And copywriting will also be affected based on the market that you're writing for, your target audience, your competitors. So the key trick here is to keep it simple. Do not use overly complicated jargons unless you are in like the medical field and all that. You have no choice. For disease names and all this, you have no choice, but you have to use that. Medicine name or treatment name, you have no choice but to use them. But other than that, keep the language simple. And one consideration that people normally miss in magnetic persuasion is this thing, the way the audience consume content. And what do I mean by that? If you are addressing a millennial, that is always on the go, that is perhaps more Instagram, that means they are more, they prefer Instagram. Like if you are addressing millennials that prefer Instagram, then your message to them will be one of short, sharp. The videos that you deliver over Instagram has to be short, sharp, or even the YouTube videos that you deliver has to be short. It cannot be like a 20 minutes thing. It can be a series of 3 minutes video where they can, they can digest, oh, what is SEO? SEO in 3 minutes kind of thing, right? So this is very important because they have no time for longer content. So of course you can have longer content, but generally your promotional content should be short. Next, we look at the effective keyword strategy, and the effective keyword strategy, we look at buying keywords or keywords with strong commercial intent. What do I mean by that? For example, if you're a property agent and you come to me and say, I want to rank for property agent Singapore, that doesn't work because nobody will search for property agent Singapore. Instead, I will advise you to rank for example, 4-room HDB apartment, or 4-room HDB flat, or 4-room HDB Toa Payoh, because people were searching for this. So you need to know that if you don't put aside time to think in your niche what your buying keywords are, then you will be wasting your SEO effort because you will be doing the SEO on the wrong keywords, on the general keywords that is very hard to rank, right? So here's a golden tip, right? So for example, that is property agent. For financial planners, you don't say financial planner Singapore. You look for retirement planning, wealth planning, or the different approaches to wealth planning. These are all the keywords that you should be targeting for, right? So next, we look at the searchability blueprint. It's a recap, and just hang on. I will sketch out the recap. So okay, next we talk about the searchability blueprint, a recap of what we have covered just very quickly, right? And one of the things that we have done is, the first is the market positioning. And basically market positioning, you talk about the market, the niche, and the sub-niche, right? Market, niche, sub-niche. So I give you an example. So let's say I'm in the weight loss business. My market is weight loss. So weight loss, we are up against a lot of the big guys with a lot of big money, right? So we need to niche down. So let's say I decide to do weight loss for women instead, right? So if I do weight loss for women, I'm still up against a lot of competition. I need to define my sub-niche. So I will define my sub-niche as weight loss for women who just given birth, and I decide to dominate this weight loss for women who have just given birth. Once I've dominate weight loss for women who have just given birth, then I decide to start to dominate weight loss for women who want to get married. So what I'm trying to say is, by breaking the weight loss for women into small niches or sub-niches, you realize that it is easier for you to dominate, right? So that is market positioning. Next, target audience, as what we say. So target audience is, so the target audience, the concept is, can you map to a person? So it's very simple. So you just think of any person that is your target audience, this age range, male, female, and all that, and then you are good already. So that's what you do, target market. And when you map to a person, you will know who is this person, who are his or her friends, where do they hang out in terms of social media, where do they hang out in terms of like physical restaurants and all that, and what are the lingo they use. And when you know this, you can do persuasive marketing to them, right? Next, you look at the competitor. So number 3 is your competitor. So your competitor, you look at, what are the top 5, how do they outreach, where, what are the platforms are they on? Are they on Facebook, social media? A lot of businesses do not have YouTube. Here's the tip, right? YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world after google.com. If your business is not on YouTube, then you miss the searchability part on the YouTube search, because people do search for businesses on YouTube, and if you do it right, your business will actually rank. We will come to that in a while, right? So competitors, it's very important to know the top 5. What are they doing online and offline, and how do you compare to them? Next, we come to the type of business. Remember the type of business? So the type of business will determine. Please do not do a Me Too business, and you have to do something unique. Next, we come to the business structure, and we use the business model canvas to help us determine what are the different structures. You can Google that for business model canvas, and you'll be able to see the model. Next, we come to branding, right? So next, we come to branding. Branding, you look at from the company perspective or personal, right? And we determine whether we want to be a market leader, opinion leader. That's our aim, right? Next, we come to the 7th part is the user experience. So user experience, we talk about design, talk about colors and things like that. Number 8 part is the magnetic persuasion, right? Pardon the writing, I'm not used to this, right? So magnetic persuasion talk about copywriting, talking about before you even go to magnetic persuasion, you need to know your target audience, your market and all this. Then you determine what your competitors are writing. You have to write in a similar fashion, right? What the type of videos that you do, not necessarily you have to copy them, but you can be a bit more creative than them. But that is the thing. And the last part is what we call the keyword strategy, and we have come to say that for the keyword strategy, we look at what we define as buying keywords, or keywords with the highest commercial intent. So it is not good to say that apartment Singapore or apartment even apartment Bukit Timah, right? Private property Bukit Timah is not good enough, because you need to define how many rooms. So like 4-room private property Bukit Timah, because why? People will be searching for this kind of terms, right? So next, let me share back the slides. Right, so we have in a nutshell recap the searchability blueprint earlier. So next, we come to this very important topic, which is getting into the mind of Google. So there are a few key considerations that we need to look at as part of the searchability factor. After we have defined the searchability factor is a guiding principle, we also need to know and get into the mind of Google. It's very important to be searchable, to know exactly what Google thinks, and to give Google what exactly it wants, right? So this is very important. And by the end of this webinar, you will have implementable steps that you can take on to your business. So this I guarantee you, right? So next, first step, we say, who came first? The Google or the Yahoo, right? So the Yahoo came first in 1994, but Google in 1998. Google came in 1998, and why is Google number one? Google is number one because at the get-go, Google focused on user experience, and Google provided relevant information from the start. If you're searching for a certain thing, Google realized that relevance is important, so Google provided the good user experience from the start. So initially, when Google launched, I myself personally, one tap open Yahoo, one tap open Google, and then you search, and then you realize that Google give you more relevant result. In the end, you say forget about Yahoo. So that's what a lot of people do, right? So initially, Google have some way to say that this website is more important, and Google's use the method of the more links that vote your website, or the more links that are linked to your website, indicate that your website is more important. However, later on, when people cheat the system, this is no longer as the main criteria. There are other criteria that they look for when determining whether the link will be a vote to your website or a liability to your website. We'll come to that in a short while. So relevant search result is the name of the game, and basically Google at the get-go, when you have the result straight away, when you click through, you straight away go to the person's website. Whereas Yahoo, when you search, you got this company name, when you click, it goes to a Yahoo directory listing first, and then you see the website, then you click. So for Yahoo, there's a one additional click, right, which Google address. Google straight away, when you see the result, you click, it goes to the website directly, right? So the next concept is, as people cheat the system, Google also try to build up its capability. And one thing to note is, in the year 2010 to 2011, Google bought almost more than one company per week during that period, and Google consolidated their position in Google Photo Search, in Google Photos. Google bought Picasa in 2004, and today it's known as Google Photos. Google bought YouTube 2006. Today YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world after Google.com. Google bought AdSense, and Google bought the newer the older technologies to form Google AdSense and Google AdWords that we have for Google Ads today, right? So Google also bought Urchin Software in 2005, which today became Google Analytics. Google bought Maps and stuff like that. So the key thing is your business on Google Photos for Google Photo Search? Is your business on YouTube for Google Video Search? Is your business on Google Maps Search? And how do you get your business on Google Maps Search? Simply list on Google My Business, a free directory provided by Google. All you need to do is just list your business there. Google will, you can request Google to send a postcard there. Once you get a postcard, you verify the business, and it's yours forever. You don't need a website to create a listing for Google My Business. So next, after Google has consolidated its assets, people start cheating Google. And this is what Google did. In February 2011, Google rolled out Google Panda, this cute animal here. And basically, Google Panda is a on-page filter. Google Panda looks at your page, this page that you're trying to rank for this keyword. Google Panda looks and scans, is your keyword repeated too many times? That's what Google Panda does. If yes, Google Panda will put a on-page filter on you, so that the search result will then have to go through the Google Panda filter and say that actually your page, you are trying to cheat Google. So Google will give you a lower ranking. So that is Google Panda, and it's mainly addressed by this method called Google keyword stuffing, where people stuff a lot of keywords on the page, right? So outcome is also relevant result. Next, we look at Google Penguin, which is April 2012. This is off-page penalty because people go crazy getting links for your website. So Google Penguin now look at the link to your website. Google Penguin then look what type of link did you get, right? What type of link did you get? So if you pay a backlink service like Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, and chances are these guys will just get you robotic links, and hopefully you don't get some links on pornographic websites, because if you do, then you have to disavow the links that are fishy, right? So a lot of work. So please don't use Fiverr for backlinks. Next, we look at Google Pigeon, July 2014, right? And Google Pigeon addresses this local, is a local search update, meaning to say that if before Google Pigeon, if you are searching for a wedding dress, you will see the US, UK results ranking. But now Google Pigeon is more clever to first check which country are you from when you are searching, and then Google Pigeon will kick in and bring in the relevant results. That if you are searching for a wedding dress and there's a US company, Google Pigeon will say don't show the US company. That's what it means, right? So next is Google Hummingbird. Google Hummingbird enable Google to understand more conversational search. So that's why sometimes when you put a sentence, you'll realize that the search result becomes quite relevant. So that's the work of Google Hummingbird. Next, we come to Google RankBrain, which is very simple. Google RankBrain is developed to handle never seen before search results. So never seen before search result, like for example, a new property launch, new property name, never seen in the online space before. Google RankBrain will handle it first, and then it will pass to Google Panda, Google Pigeon, Penguin, Hummingbird, and together they will make sense of the results and display it in Google. Next, we come to this very interesting thing on what is an example of a searchable business, which I will do a live demo. Just give me a minute. Okay, so this is a live demo of what a actual searchable business looks like. So for example, in the search bar, I'm going to type wedding ice sculpture Singapore. So this is an example of my client actually utilizing all the searchability factor components that we were talking about. So for example, so wedding ice sculpture Singapore, as you can see, it is 12 million results, and 12 million results, and you notice that there is, for this case, there is this thing what we call a image pack. All the series of images appear together. And you notice that when all the series of images appear together, how come there are some images that is with the Tuckly logo? And if you click, let's say for example, whoever that's getting married and they love this love sculpture that can put champagne and all that below. So, hey, I like this, the wife told the husband, and then they click, and then they saw this loved one They saw this love. Hang on. Yeah, so they saw this love sculpture and they realized that icecoveringsingapore.com. So they will go to the website and they will order, right? So this is what I mean by making your image searchable. Okay, next we go down. This is the organic result. So as you can see, the image is what we call a position 0. Position 0 doesn't happen all the time. Position 0 normally is for images or YouTube videos. So this is Google page 1 number 1. This is Google page 1 number 2. And as we scroll down, we will see that Ice Covering Singapore also appears in this thing what we call the Google Map Pack. Map Pack, right? It's map, right? Then you also have Pinterest. You also have YouTube here, and a hot frog listing as well. So ladies and gentlemen, Google page 1 listing is 10. There are 10 results in Google page 1 listing, and easily I got 5 results for my client for wedding ice sculpture Singapore, right? So we will carry on with the slide. Yep. So that is an example of a live demo of how a searchable business appears in Google. Next, we look at the key factors of SEO, and this is really very important, the key factors of SEO and some of the Google core concepts, because this will actually determine how we should approach SEO, right? So first, let me introduce to you that there are actually 8 types of SEO. There are basically 8 types of SEO that if you do for your business, you will be able to benefit from the example of Tuckly, where you will be able to outrank your competitor, and not only on Google page 1, but you appear on multiple Google page 1 listing. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very easy to get on Google page 1 listing, but let me challenge you. Go and ask any SEO practitioner to show you the type of results that I have just shown you. Alright, so then you will know that actually SEO is not only about optimizing your website. It's not only about optimizing and getting links. There is a bigger perspective of SEO. So let's cover the 8 types of SEO marketing. The first type is this thing called technical SEO, and technical SEO basically addresses your website load speed, your mobile friendliness, whether you have HTTPS secure connection, whether your hosting is fast enough, right? So if you don't want the headaches of hosting, or you don't know which host to get, you can always contact Exabytes, right? So next, we go to the off-page SEO. Off-page SEO are the factors or activities that you do to get links to your business. Now, here is the thing. Do not go crazy getting links, because now Google looks at relevant links. So please get links from, maybe, for example, industry journals, or get featured on or write articles on industry related blogs or industry related magazines that are closely related to your business. So this is the thing. I have ranked websites before on Google page 1 with as little as 10 links, right? So it's not about you need to get off-page SEO all the time, right? And one of the key and fastest way to get links to your website is to roll out what we call a press release. If you have state of the art product and stuff like that, you can consider paying to launch a press release to several news sites, and then you immediately get the credibility, because news sites are always credible sites in Google's eyes, right? So next, for point 3 and point 4 is closely related to the content that you have on your website. And content SEO basically means that you need to write the content to optimize for the human first, because the content has to be readable. Remember, it's no use ranking if when people come to your website, people see that your content is rubbish. So content SEO, the consideration is always for the human first, then optimize for the search engine. And on-page SEO basically is a methodology that basically tells you what you need to do, how you need to repeat the keywords, how you need to do certain things to ensure that this page rank for this keyword and associated keywords as well. So that's what on-page SEO is. Local SEO is simply that if your business, for example, if you are in US and you only operate a few of the states in the US, not all the states in the US, then you must make sure that you have Google My Business on the different states and it's a verified. In that way, then Google will know that your service area is only these few states in the US. That's what it means by local SEO. So this will help in your local searchability, because basically how Google works is Google look at your Google My Business, what is the country defined in Google My Business, and then Google looks at your Google My Business profile, whether it's linked to the website. And that's how Google maps your website, which is a .com, with a location, right? And basically, next we talk about image SEO. We have seen that how Tak Lee was able to rank for image SEO, as I show you. So the image SEO trick is very simple. All your images, you make sure you brand your images. So if you're a property agent, make sure you put your handphone number there. And then what you do is you can use like Photoshop or Canva to do that. And what you do, the trick is to rename the images to, let's say a certain property name, 4-room apartment ABC condo dash Jenny, for example. So your image will be 4-room apartment ABC condo dash Jenny, 5-room apartment ABC condo dash Jenny, that kind of thing. Then after that, you just upload into Google Photos, right? Next, we come to YouTube SEO. YouTube SEO is how you optimize your video that you upload on YouTube, how you optimize the video for certain search terms, how you optimize the whole YouTube channel for search. And next, of course, if you are doing e-commerce, then we talk about e-commerce SEO. And e-commerce SEO talks about how do you optimize your different product category, how do you structure your products into categories, how do you SEO optimize each product. So ladies and gentlemen, these are the 8 types of SEO that you can immediately implement for your business. So here are immediate tips that we can take home, right, to basically improve your SEO for your business, right? So I have promised you that I will give you immediate actionable steps that you can take home, and here are the steps. So first, domain and hosting. If your business is in Singapore, try to get a Singapore hosting company. Okay, that's the other thing. This is the keyword in domain name. It used to matter a lot. It now doesn't matter that much, but in a strongly contested niche, I say that again, for keyword in domain name, it used to matter a lot, but it's not that much anymore. But in a very keenly contested market like property, it does matter. Basically, there are 200 ranking factors in Google. So how does Google see if every property agent is doing all the 200 factors, but one property agent has the keyword in domain name and one doesn't, there is a high chance that the person with the keyword in domain name will rank higher, right? So that's what I mean. Buy SSL secured domain for your site. Anyway, no problem. Have no idea which company to host, exabytes, right? So website optimization, here's the problem, right? If you are interior design company, your website have a lot of beautiful images, very little text. How do you optimize for SEO? You can't, right? So pay attention also to mobile optimization is very important, device optimization, responsive design. Most of the teams, most of the WordPress teams nowadays have mobile optimized teams. It used to be worse in the earlier days. A lot of teams were not mobile optimized, then you don't know which team to choose, right? Website load speed is very important. Make sure that your image, if you have a website that have very image heavy, then you need to have like a WordPress plugin that can actually smash the image into a smaller size. There are plugins available. Content optimization, again, we talk about writing with the readers in mind, and then with the search engine, right? And then ensure that you write with a topical relevance, contextual relevance, so that Google will rank you. Optimize your image file name with keywords. Local SEO, we talked about it already. Google My Business. Video optimization, there is a whole process of video optimization. Hopefully, maybe I can arrange another separate session with exabytes sometime down the road on video optimization, right? And social media and images is very important to have presence in social media. Remember, we've talked about if your competitor is on Instagram and you're not, then you have to ask yourself, why are you not, right? And having a presence in social media is very important, because especially when you have built a following of your Facebook page, you can then use go live technology, where you go live and tell people of the latest updates of your business, and people will be instantly notified when you go live, right? So can we have a comment on who thinks that they have benefited so far from all this sharing, right? So if you think that you have benefited so far from this sharing, please type 1 in the chat. Okay, thank you very much for this. So allow me to just have another about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll open the floor to Q&A. All right, is that okay? All right. So yes, thank you to say that you have benefited. In fact, I also when I prepare the best way to deliver, I also benefited from it, right? Okay. They say the best way to learn a topic is to teach the topic, right? And that is so true, right? So if you benefited from it, unfortunately, we only spend about almost I don't know, an hour, slightly over an hour or something. Unfortunately, the time is not on our side. But if you benefited from this, just give me 5 minutes. I've got a SEO certification course. It's a 2 days SEO certification course where you get a nice certificate. You get a nice certificate that is all the way with a serial number in the UK, and you can use this if you are searching for a job or something like that. All right. So this is SEO certification course, and basically in the SEO certification course, you will learn how to make your business searchable online, as what we say, but in way that, because we have 2 days, right? We will cover 2 days, 2 full days, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. So it's really 2 days of intense learning. It's a boot camp. So the 2 days SEO certification course, please take a snap of this 2 days SEO certification course. Firstly, it is 100% SkillsFuture credit eligible course. Is ITOL certified, which is UK, that I have the exclusive for Asia for my SEO certification, and it's happening on the 29th and 30th of November, Monday, Tuesday, 8:30 to 5:30 p.m. Zoom with hands-on, right? And if you are interested, you can look at skillsfutureseo.com, or you can take please take a snap of this, because that also contains my real handphone number, right? It's a real handphone number. You can WhatsApp me, right? And yep. So I give you 5 seconds to take a snapshot of this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we will learn about the business framework and the climate. You know, we've talked about the business model canvas. We will deep dive into this. We will learn about how you actually identify market, sub niche, and niche, and we will learn how you actually go and do your competitor analysis. Is quite in depth, right? So here are the modules. Module 1 is basically to set the expectation of the cost. Module 2 is to understand the business climate, how pandemic plays a part, business model canvas, and we use SourceStack, another framework to analyze competitor. Third, we look at the increasing role of digital marketing, and is not SEO alone. So we actually learn about what is demand-based marketing and what is interest-based marketing, right? And for module 4, what is the search engine optimization? We look at basically what we cover, how is Google able to dominate? What are the recipes for success? Remember, we give you an example of the Tuckly example of a real searchable business. So we will deep dive into how your business can also be searchable. In module 5, we do what are the considerations you need to do before you even start SEO. And part of the things that we will have activity for you to determine which is the buying keyword and which are keywords that are not. And you will be surprised that the keywords that you thought are buying keywords are actually not buying keywords, right? And then we go through the proper SEO planning process. We talk about the anatomy of a website for SEO. We set it up for you. Setting up for success is really everyone will have a play area where you will set and you will walk through the whole process, and we talk and we'll cover about technical SEO, what we can do to improve that, on page SEO, off page SEO, image SEO, and YouTube SEO, and the mind map for success. And we'll talk a bit about emerging technologies. So here are what people say about the SEO king, me, right? So Shi-En, I love that he broke the complex and explained very simply. Nick Issa is a talented professional mentor. He really knows his digital marketing topics well and passionate. Irene, I benefited greatly from his deep knowledge in SEO. So I mentored Nick Issa for his digital marketing diploma in Lithium. So again, it's a Skills Future credit eligible course and is ITOR certified in the UK. So this is my course. Again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And thank you, and we will now take questions. Anyone has any questions? You can type in the chat. Okay, so Cheryl brought up a very interesting question. For the keyword, is it important to put Singapore? It used to be important, right? There are several ways in which Google determine whether you are based in Singapore. If you have a Google My Business and your website.com is linked to the Google My Business, chances are Google will know that your business is in Singapore. Google will also look at the information that you have on your contact us page and also see whether this information is present in different directories. And this is what we call name, address, phone, or NAP. So the format that you have on your contact us page on your website, specifically your company name, your format of your address, and your format of your phone number, whether you put +65 or not, that format, if you keep consistent with all the directory listings that you are doing, that is called consistency of NAP, and that's called local SEO. So Google will know that your business is from Singapore just by listing on directories using a consistent name, address, and phone number format, right? So it is not necessary, but it is also not penalized or no harm if you put Singapore. One of the reasons why you put Singapore behind is especially for you guys who are just starting out in SEO. When you put Singapore behind, the competition drops drastically, and it is naturally that when you rank for, wedding ice sculpture Singapore first, you will naturally rank for wedding ice sculpture naturally, right? And sometimes when you search, for example, let's say for example you search wedding ice sculpture, and you realize that the search is not that refined. There are cases like that, so your target audience naturally will put a Singapore behind. So that's one of the reasons why we put Singapore behind. Yeah, I hope I answered your question. I think I did. Thanks, Cheryl. Cheryl is my cousin, by the way. Okay.
Hi, Eugene. Let me help you on the Q&A.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so questions from Ken. He asked that, would you recommend to include the keyword when we consider a domain name for our business? Will it be able to help on the SEO ranking?
Okay, so like what I say, keyword in domain name used to be a must, right? It's no longer a must in officially when what Google say, but what I noticed while ranking competitive markets like property agents and new launch property, it is normally beneficial to have the keyword in the domain name. It helps because if here's the thing, right? Let's say there are 200 things that you need to do in SEO. Let's say property agent A does 200 things. You also does 200 things. So you must show to Google that you do something more. And that something more is the keyword in domain name. It's not important as it used to be, but if you have something more and the guy doesn't have something more, then there is a very high chance that Google will rank you, and you will outrank that guy. Yeah.
All right. So another question from BS. He asked that, how do I apply SEO for multiple countries, say like Southeast Asia, and I don't have office in this location while based in Singapore using one website?
Okay, so very good question. So in such situations is one website. So your one website, you have the contact us, you have the different so-called the are you are not having sub offices in Southeast Asia, right? But you want to rank for services there. Am I right? Yeah. So if that is the case, then if you don't have sub offices there, then one of the key considerations that you need to do in SEO is first you need to rank for google.com.sg. So you have to do google.com.sg. You check your keyword listing, and then you go to google.com.thailand. So chances are is how people rank this is normally they will have a country page. They will have a country page. So like for example Thailand, then you will have in Thailand you will have a one pager or a series of pages that talk about the service that you provide in Thailand, so that your page will rank for Thailand, for Malaysia, and all that. So normally the practice is to have uh, uh, if you want to keep it to one website, then you have different page for different country. There are different approaches. There are some people that for each country they set a website, but for each country that they set a website does not really apply to you because you don't have a servicing office there. So it doesn't make sense for you to have, and to also maintain so many domain names. So the chances are is that you need to create each specific country page, and you update that page on what are the services that you do, and then you outlink to your optimized page. That means you create a sub menu and you outlink to your optimized page, but that landing page for the country will talk about you servicing this country. Yeah.
All right. So another question is from Danny. For new content, is it better to post in a new page or new blog from SEO perspective?
Okay, for new content, so normally for company website, you will actually organize it in such a way that perhaps you have all your standard pages, and then perhaps some people will like to call it blog. Some people not comfortable to call it blog. They call it updates, or they call it but it's okay to call it blog. So if you have blog section, then you have your blog section, then you break it up. Each category, you have a different service category, that the services that you provided. And when you create a post, you will select the necessary category page. So in this case, when you are doing SEO, you are optimizing the category page and the post page itself, so that when you do a new post, you always link the post to the category, which you in WordPress category page, you can actually SEO optimize the category. So in that sense, what it means is that every new post that you add to the category page that's already been optimized, Google will then associate this post to this topical or subtopics, and that's how Google builds or Google sees that your website has contextual relevancy and rank you high, because you have contextual relevancy. You not only have textual relevancy. So textual relevancy is when you optimize your keywords at the page level. Contextual relevancy is when Google can see your data as a groups level, groups of data. So for example, if you are selling Apple products, right? So the first encounter, let's say it's a new website, right? So the first encounter that Google see the keyword Apple. So now in Google mind, Google needs to determine whether it's Apple the fruit or Apple the company. So how does Google determine that? Google will then look at what are the subcategories you have. So your subcategories, you have MacBook, you have iPad, you have iPhone. So then through all these subcategories and through all the posts related, Google then builds a contextual database of what your website is about, and then Google now knows that you're talking about Apple the company, right? So I hope that given a perspective answer to you. Yeah.
Okay, so from Ken, he said that he heard before about what white hat SEO and black hat SEO. Actually, what's the difference between them, among them? Yeah.
This is my favorite question, right? Okay, so let me answer very simply, right? White hat SEO makes you sleep soundly. Black hat SEO makes you worry. What I mean by that? Black hat SEO is a method whereby you try to cheat the system. You try to cheat the Google by getting a lot of links and things and all that. But let me tell you, Google is an algorithm. It's not dead in water. Google is an algorithm. Google will constantly look at all these things, right? And Google will now look at very simple, right? Let's talk about 1,000 links. You are able to get 1,000 links in 3 days. That's okay. Yeah, you'll get rank. You'll get rank. The for the next 5 algorithm, or for the next 5 Google crawls, you will get rank. But as Google crawls, every time Google crawls, sometimes Google doesn't crawl that deeply into your site. Sometimes it does. So imagine this, that Google is a empty book, and every time Google crawls your website, Google builds the information that it has about your website chapter by chapter, and Google will have an index of what are all the topics, subtopics. That's why categories and tags in WordPress we use to segregate our topics and subtopics. So when Google builds that, and then Google looks at, now the backlinks are, right now Google not only looks at the number of backlinks that you have, Google looks at how fast you get those backlinks. Right? If you are getting 1,000 backlinks in 3 days versus someone that manually builds it 20 backlinks in 3 days, Google will believe that the 20 backlinks in 3 days, Google will believe that this person genuinely builds a backlink by listing in directory, one day list maybe 2 directories, that kind of thing. So again, when you are doing black hat methods, means you are trying to constantly cheat the system. So black hat SEO works because there are some people that engage black hat SEO. It works for a short period of time. It works, but you don't know when it will fall and crash on you. Giving an example of Takli, the SEO was done 4 years ago. Today, the SEO sticks. Today, they still get inquiry for ice sculpture. So why is that so? Because I'm using white hat SEO, meaning to say that white hat SEO is something like that, in a very layman term. I will raise my hand to Google and say, hey, you say do this, right? I do already, I'm white hat, I'm white hat SEO, you cannot fault me because I do exactly what you asked me to do. So in a nutshell, that is white hat SEO, you see. So I sleep very peaceful and soundly at night because I know I use Google's technology against them. What I mean by that, why do Google buy technology? Google buy technology to consolidate their position. Google bought YouTube. There are still companies that are not on YouTube. Is that crazy? You have to be on YouTube. You have to be on Google My Business. You have to be on Google Photos. That is why Takli is able to rank multiple Google page 1 because of that. Right? So I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you, Eugene. And another question from Cheryl. For Google by My Business, if my business is fully online and I don't have a physical shop, will it still be useful for me?
Yes, Google My Business is useful for you. For example, you don't have online shop, but you have a way in which people contact you, maybe through a WhatsApp or something like that. It is good that you have a Google My Business that you can actually put your WhatsApp number. So what happens is that when you list a Google My Business, they will have the postcard verification. So but if after postcard verified, you can choose to hide your address. So that is the method that you can use, but you can still put your handphone number, contact number, because you want people to contact, you want them to chat about you, right? Unless other way is if you don't want the contact number to be revealed also, then your Google My Business will link to your website, and then maybe your website has this those kind of online support chatbot and things like that people can leave message. That is also feasible. Yeah.
Okay, so questions from Lee Tin.
Yes.
Can you provide some practical advice on keyword research? What two affordable tool would you recommend for a startup company who does not have big budget to subscribe to tools like SEMrush or RF?
Okay. you don't need SEMrush. I don't use SEMrush. The Google Keyword Planner is good enough, right? Start with that, and basically, it's not about the keywords. It's about keywords with buying or strong commercial intent. Always have this in mind, right? Yes, while your eventual aim is to rank for private property Singapore, you need to uh like the same concept, you need to have all your sub niche and all that, right? So the buying keywords is something like that. So it's no point ranking for private property Singapore where you are better off focusing your efforts to rank for private property Bukit Timah. You rank a page private property Bukit Timah, for example, then you have 4-room apartment Bukit Timah, five-room apartment Bukit Timah, bungalows at Bukit Timah. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a page, for example, Bukit Timah Property Singapore, and you optimize for Bukit Timah Property Singapore. Then you create sub pages that fit into this page, and basically you're trying to tell Google that this is Bukit Timah Property Singapore, and in Bukit Timah Property Singapore, I have 3 properties that I'm selling. I'm selling a 3-room apartment Bukit Timah, 4-room apartment Bukit Timah, and a bungalow at Bukit Timah. Yeah. So with that, that's how Google sees the contextual. But from your on-page SEO perspective, you actually optimize the page, which is private property Bukit Timah. You optimize the 3 sub pages, and then you use a plugin like content views to pull posts of certain category and embed it into the page, so that the page now has an authority for Bukit Timah properties, because Google can see that yes, you optimize the page for Bukit Timah properties, and the properties that you have are the 3-room apartment Bukit Timah, which you optimize for 3-room apartment Bukit Timah, 4-room apartment Bukit Timah, and bungalow at Bukit Timah. Yeah. So that's how you actually optimize. So in the thing is, back to the keyword tool, right? You don't need expensive tools. I don't use expensive tools, and in fact, I was able to rank for Tuckly just by using the Google Keyword Planner. That's a fact, right? So you don't have for beginners, never invest on tools, because when you invest on tools, then you have one extra thing to learn, the tools. And then you have that worry that every month you have to pay hundreds of dollars for subscription, right? So start from the bare minimum. Google Keyword Planner. There are some weird tools as well. I'm not weird. There are some tools that are really good. I think Neil Patel has this Uber Suggest, which is quite good, which is keyword related. They actually suggest related keywords. But simple research, here's one added bonus, right? Since you asked. Okay, let me project my screen since you asked. So here, right? So as you can see, this is what we call Google Suggest. So wedding ice sculpture is the keyword that you want to rank for. What Google is trying to tell you is, for wedding ice sculpture, if you want to rank for wedding ice sculpture, you have to create a page called wedding ice sculpture. Your page, whenever relevant, should have the words wedding ice sculptures, wedding ice sculpture ideas, wedding ice sculptures cost, wedding ice sculptures near me, wedding ice sculptures prices, most, on all this. Whenever applicable, you need to do this. There is also a very quick hack that you can use, which is this. How do you get more keywords, right? You do wedding ice sculpture space A, right? Wedding ice sculpture space B. Okay, it may not work. Okay, let's say for example, ice sculpture. So ice sculpture space A. So you see, if I'm doing a ice sculpture site, by doing ice sculpture space A, I realized that I didn't talk about ice sculpture artists. So this could be a very important search term that people are searching for, or ice sculpture at wedding, right? Because wedding ice sculpture is related. So ice sculpture space B, right? So this is the place. This is all the US one. Ice sculpture space C. China. Ice sculpture Christmas. I didn't talk about it, right? Ice sculpture carving. I may not talk about it, right? Ice sculpture course. Ice sculpture company. I may not talk about it. So by doing this, you actually get additional keyword ideas. And notice that this is free, right? Yeah. So I hope I answered your question.
Okay, so from RT, in addition to Google and YouTube SEO, how effective or efficient will it be for marketers to use Facebook or LinkedIn as well?
Well, for Facebook and LinkedIn, definitely if your audience is there, because but again here is the thing, here's the thing that we need to we need to be clear. That's why I have a 2 days course, right? Because all this is covered, right? But basically, just a very quick overview is that you need to understand intent based search versus interest based. Okay, let me deep dive into that. Intent based is for Google and YouTube. There is a search bar involved, right? And the search bar is triggered when somebody search for it. The search bar is not triggered. The search result is not triggered when nobody search for it. So when somebody search for it, what we are trying to say is there is an intent. There is an intention for the person to want to find something. That's why he search. So this is what we call intent based. So SEO is intent based because you are SEO is like that, right? You spread a net. You spread a net. And then you're waiting for the fish to swim into the net. So how does the fish swim to the net? Somebody search this keyword. He go into your net. Right? So that is what we call intention based. So when somebody goes to Google, somebody goes to YouTube, there's a search bar. You search. You have intention. Now, looking that from a Facebook and LinkedIn perspective, LinkedIn, okay, let's talk about LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is very simple. People are there just to network with each other. Sometimes they will watch the post, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't watch your post. They are just there to make sure that, I'm a digital marketer. I want to connect with junior digital marketer because I have course. When I announce a course, maybe they are interested. So for me, my LinkedIn, I connect with a lot of junior digital marketers because I think that I can add value to them on the post that I do. So that is LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is very clear. Is more business centric. For Facebook, most of the time Facebook, what you do, you scroll feed. You scroll feed. So very important. People do not go to Facebook to buy. Always remember that. So Facebook might be good for initially when you are a new shop. It might be good for you to come out a branding campaign. People watch videos, and then what you can do for Facebook ads is, because you have the video views, you can then target people who watch 30% of your video, 50% of your video. That means there's a very strong intention already, right? Rather than people who watch your video. So if people who watch 30 seconds of your video, 50 seconds of your video. So let's say for example, I have a video. My video talks about my upcoming SEO course, right? And let's say 1,000 people watch 3 seconds of my video, but when I say 50% of my video, only 100 watch. So I will take this 50% of video watchers of this video that talks about my course. I will then run an ad either a messaging app or something and say, hey, I have this course. If you're interested, just WhatsApp me directly to find out more. I'll send you the course brochure. Then we go on to a very personal relationship where I can support and ask them what their struggle on digital marketing. So this is an example of how different Google search is, because Google search is still very intention based. When you're searching for a wedding dress, you are not researching for your thesis on wedding dress. You are actually wanting to buy a wedding dress in Google. Of course, there are cases where people are researching for thesis and all that, but most of the time when you're searching in Google, you actually want to find out about something. Whereas in Facebook, you are just casually browsing, right? So I hope I kind of answered your question in this area. Yeah.
Okay, so questions from Kirby. I see that the ice sculpture images that show up on Google search aren't on Taglist website. Where are those images from?
Yes, they some images are on Taglist website. These images are actually hosted on Google Photos. Yeah. So what I did was I actually renamed the image to be wedding, for example, wedding ice sculpture Singapore dash love, for the love sculpture that you saw, right? Love with champagne holder or something like that. So I actually named the image like that. But before I upload, I make sure I use Photoshop to put their Takli logo, put their website. So if you're a property agent, before you upload, you can put your contact number and you can say 4-room apartment Bukit Timah, 5-room apartment Bukit Timah, bungalow Bukit Timah dash Jenny. Let's say, for example, if your name is Jenny, something like that. Yeah. So by doing that and then by uploading into Google Photos, because your photo is ranked for the keyword, when people search for the keyword, you will appear in the Google photo pack if Google decides to show position 0. So position 0 can be image pack or can be video pack. Yeah.
Okay, so I think you have already answered all the questions. So any more questions? If you have any questions you want to ask, just type in the Q&A or in the chat box.
Yeah, so if you guys have any question, just I think this will be made available in the Exabytes YouTube channel, right? So
Yeah, correct.
you can ask in the YouTube channel. So if you are watching the replay on Exabytes YouTube channel, you can just ask your questions there, and I will try to check periodically if there's any questions, and I can reply the questions. If not, if you're taken a snapshot of my handphone number, you can just drop me a text. Hopefully I can reply in time. Or if you want to find out more about the 2 days SEO course, because unfortunately time is short, we only have like about 2 hours to cover the content as well as FAQ. But if you really want to deep dive in SEO, it's a 2 days class, and you get UK certified, which is not bad deal, and you pay 0 because you can offset your skills feature. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So if there's another question coming in. What about keyword competition? What if a particular keyword or phrase has high competition?
Now here's the thing, right? For you guys, I would generally assume that for an entry level SEO, so for the keyword, so here's what you do, right? For entry level SEO, let's say for example you will go to the Google Keyword Planner and you will type wedding, for example wedding ice sculpture, and then you get a list of keywords sorted by difficulty, right? So what you will attempt, after you got the list of keywords, you try to group them into groups that make sense, that this keyword is talking about this keyword is talking about the subtopics. So after you got the keywords, group the keywords into subtopics. so that each subtopic can be a category and each keyword can be a post. So this is how you plan it. Then after that, you look at the keyword difficulty. If you are new to SEO, always start with the low first. Finish up all the keywords of all the low keywords first, because the objective is also an ego boost, because you don't want to be disappointed when you do SEO and then it takes long time to do it. Right? So start with the low keywords first and then move up to medium, right? And then later last high is the one you tackle. But chances are those high, once you have settled low and medium, chances are the high will rank as well. That is how you do it. So how fast does SEO happen? Today I SEO optimize a page, assuming I get reasonable links, not crazy links for my website. But today I post a new page. Here is the cycle. Roughly 2 to 3 weeks time, you check again. If your keyword is of low competition, 2 to 3 weeks time you check. You should be between page 3 and page 5. Give it another week, you should go roughly around page 3. One more week, you should go between page 2 and page 1. One more week, you should reach page 1. And to get multiple Google page 1, you make sure that you have like Pinterest presence, you have Google Photos presence, and all this, right? So yeah. So that's the tips, right?
All right. Okay. Oh, two questions coming in. To outsource SEO to a third party, what to look out for and what should be the expectations?
I mean, to be real frank, a lot of the digital marketing managers, or sometimes they call it assistant marketing managers, they are people with very limited industry knowledge. So chances are when they engage a SEO company, they were more in tune with what the SEO company tells you. So very good gauge is to install two things. One, make sure the SEO company is able to install for you Google Analytics. Google Analytics will be able you will be able to see the page visits for Google Analytics. And next, you have to install this thing called Hotjar, Hotjar. Hotjar has two very important features. One of the features is called heat map, HEATMAP. Heat map is like those when you see the weather report, the volcano, and then certain part are red, certain part are orange. So it's exactly that. After you install heat map, you will be able to know this. So I installed heat map for one of my customer, and they had one section on the website where these are the latest and newest products that they expect people to buy. After we install heat map, we realize that part of the website nobody click. Without installing heat map, you will be wondering how come your sales never increase. We ourselves got a shock when we realized that heat map or Hotjar is so important. That's number one. Number two, second feature of Hotjar is the free Hotjar, if I'm not wrong, enables you to kind of allows you 100 video recordings. So what does this mean is that for the 100 video recordings, each visitor that visit your website, your homepage, a video is recorded on their behavior, and you can actually see whether the video is broad or narrow. If the video is narrow, you can know that they are visiting through mobile. If the video is broad, means they are visiting through laptop. That's not the only thing that they do. You can also realize that if your website, your homepage is a long page, whether do they scroll and what percentage do they scroll to. So this video recording will show you exactly each user behavior, how they behave. Having these two things in place, then you can access the SEO company and what they do. So chances are they will do very broad keywords. They won't do keywords with buying intention. So you must really sit down before you engage an SEO company to ensure that the keywords that you agreed upon are keywords with strong buyer intent rather than property agent Singapore, private property Singapore. It's not going to be that effective when compared to if you have identified the keywords with strong buyer intention, right? Yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, so questions from BS. Does the concept and methodology you share apply also on local language like Baidu in China? Any difference for local language SEO?
The Okay, let's put it this way. The methods that I share is the same for languages that are similar to English, but for languages that are character based like Japanese, Thai, Mandarin, uh, it's the concepts is similar, but again, you you optimize differently. And if you're talking about China, China is a different ballgame because China, Google and all this is blocked, right? So China is talking about Baidu marketing, right? Baidu marketing is a totally different ballgame altogether, right? And truth be told, I'm not trained in Baidu marketing. So and I don't intend to get trained in Baidu marketing, but there are experts. So if you're marketing China, you have to look at like Baidu and what uh, what QQ and all these things, right? Their messaging, yeah, their messaging software and stuff like that. So it's really a different ball game. But generally, for the SEO, and as long as is language similar to English, like for example Indonesian, Malay bahasa, which is all spelling based, it's probably the similar concept. Yeah. So yes.
Okay, so questions from Jasper. How much content do we need to produce to have a good ranking? Or can we just do a one-page website and try to optimize that?
Now the key things for SEO is this, right? If you have a one page website, you are similar to the interior design company which has a lot of images and very little text text, right? So the thing is, you how much content? Google looks the best practices they say is 2 to 3 pieces of content per week, but again is also dependent on how big your marketing company are. Most companies, the marketing company is just a one-man show, and chances are the person has to do YouTube, the person has to cover events, has to run events for the company and things like that. So best practices is about 2 to 3 times a week, if you can once a week, because what happened is that also as part of your website, if you set up if you're using WordPress and you have this Google XML sitemap generator automatically generated for you, for example if you're using Yoast SEO, and basically what this does is very simple. The moment your website is updated, the XML sitemap will actually wave the hand to Google and say, hey Google, I got new content, and then chances are Google might crawl your website faster, right? And when Google crawl your website faster, hopefully your content rank. So coming back to the question, one page websites normally people use for this concept called lead generation, and normally it's very simple. Visit showroom, enter your name, your name, contact number, and then we'll contact you for appointment or something like that. So it's normally very simple, and it's normally ad driven for one page websites. For SEO, normally you will have to have a couple pages. Just to give you an example, to rank for a niche, like for example Takli, to rank for a particular niche, you roughly need a minimum of 60 pages to rank for a particular niche, right? Yep.
All right. Wow, we have answered a lot of questions today, and the time is almost. And thank you so much, Eugene. Do you need to have some water first?
No, it's okay. It's okay. So I mean, I'm very happy to be here to provide value, and as you can see, these questions are really needed because people want to know about SEO and all that. Again, if any of you are interested, I mean, not here just because I'm selling my course, but really because more on the time constraint that we can't really learn much in 2 hours. But I actually have covered a lot already.
Yeah, it's such a fruitful session. Yes. And by the way, I want to ask that is it possible for me to share the slides with the attendees today?
Yes. Okay. So what I can do is I can put
Maybe
it.
you can share it with me and then I will send it to the attendees.
Yeah. So I will give you a slide share link where they
Okay.
can they can actually just access the link, and then they can access the
Okay.
slides. That'd be
Okay, you
good.
just share it with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, thank you so much, Eugene, for joining us and sharing with us all about the tips to improve the searchability online. So we hope to see you again in our next event.
Yes.
So
Definitely.
before I end this webinar, I would like to inform all the attendees to kindly complete our post-webinar survey. And we will only send the slides of today's session for those attendees who have completed the survey. So make sure you completed it. Other than that, we have a recorded session today, so we will inform you when the video recording is ready via email. And last but not least, we have another interesting event next week, which is maximize your sales and marketing funnel. So we hope to see you there. And so that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us
So
and see
just
you
to add
guys next.
on, just to add on the funnel thing, right?
Yeah.
So here's my parting note to everyone, right? A lot of people say that SEO takes time. It does take time to rank. So if your business needs immediate result, you need to know how to do funnels. So please join in the next week sessions, right? Because it will definitely help you.
Thank you so much, Eugene. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for staying with us, and thank you so much, Eugene, for this fruitful session. See you guys
Thank you.
next time. Okay, thank you. Bye, and
Thanks.
stay safe.
Bye.
Exabytes. Grow your business online.